in their own way, because we are all different, even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Hallelujah Ginger Tea drink and Hallelujah Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body, because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Hallelujah Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Hallelujah from all shops around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Perusing through the dailies this morning, the 21st of October 2021. It's a beautiful yet rainy Thursday morning, but looking at New Vision, the government releases another 5.8 trillion shillings. And then in Victoria, of course, there is presidential assistant charged with abuse of office, the fight against corruption. In the Daily Monitor, you get to look at the front page. Teachers now to train for 4 years. These are the stories that are actually of national importance when it comes to good governance of our country. Well, Good Morning Uganda always starts off with such information so that you can have your day better informed of what's taking place across the country, north of the country, south of the country, west of the country, east of the country, and also center of the country. So welcome to Good Morning Uganda. My name is Priscilla Nalwoga. Delighted to have you with us yet for another day, and I'm here with a fantastic foe. Good morning to you, Robert.
A lovely morning to you, Priscilla. Happy to see you.
It's a pleasure to be here equally. How have you been?
Oh, I've been fine.
Yeah.
It's a new day.
Yeah.
And of course, every day gives you an opportunity to start afresh. It's a new day, it's full of opportunities. Of course, there are challenges, but it's all about how you train your mind.
Okay.
It's the mindset that will determine. I love a gentleman who usually hits and says, you know, whatever comes your way, this is the masterpiece.
Yeah.
How you handle situations, how you maneuver, all depends here.
Speaking of maneuvering, how have you maneuvered from Machindia division? I know the drainage system there is under reconstruction because of the Kampala flyover. So what does it look like this morning from where you came from?
Apart from the Mukwano bit of it, where you can pass, that is Chibuli Police Training School or CID offices, then you go via, there's a Coca-Cola depot, come here towards the railway. Because if you risk when it's raining and you want to come direct from the traffic lights or through Mukwano, there is that short distance that usually floods completely, and there you find cars, and that is when you get to know that there's a difference. It's not all about beauty and price, but there is a difference.
Okay, all right, indeed there is a difference. One of us has actually done a rescue team, a rescue drill for one of our members who got stuck in the rain last week, and so we call him, do they call him fireman? Because it's the fireman that usually
He works with the police fire brigade.
He works with the police fire brigade. Or he's supposed to be working with them. But anyway, before we go to him, we have someone who has also been claiming in the last few hours that she is half Kenyan. So good morning to you, Kenyana Molen.
As greet her in the dialect of people from Kenya. Please greet our people, greet us, make your introduction or commentary in Kiswahili.
Habari zenu, karibuni Morning Uganda, we are glad to have you. At least I can greet.
Kenya.
Can anyone else greet like that?
Kenya.
Can anyone else do that?
Well, but Kenya is not Kenya.
My friend.
She's from the west, not
for the longest time I have.
For
the longest time I've loved being Kikuyu. So I think part of my blood, I'm actually going to do a DNA test. You know, when you do a DNA test, they give you percentage of your nationality, of your origin. So I could be like 5% Kikuyu.
Okay.
Then who knows, like 3% Indian, 1% Chinese.
So all along you're not, meanwhile your mother is watching TV and she's thinking, my daughter's
I
not
could be
proud."
90%. I could be 90% Munyankole, but then like there is that 10% where I have 1% Indian,
Where you want it to be
5%
something
Kikuyu.
else.
You know?
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Mr. Fire Brigade.
Why does she feel that way or want to
I
be?
am- Didn't
I'll
you
tell
get
you
the
why.
story
I
of the
will tell you
Bantu? We literally came from the same origin.
Kenya,
That
it
says
doesn't
a
come
lot.
from
So,
there.
since you came, Diana is going to help telling her she's
Yeah.
Zimbabwe, she's Lesotho, she's South African, she's Sosa. What
could
else are
be.
you?
Mr. Fire Brigade,
I'm
how are
about
you?
to find out.
Well, I'm all right, Priscilla. It's really good to see you this morning. And I must say, I was looking at the two of you and Molly this morning, and I was thinking, okay, there's power in the girl child indeed, because when Priscilla was missing, clearly you would evidently tell. But I hope you're fine, and it's another beautiful day. Being a Thursday means that we fast tracking or fast approaching what the weekend will offer. Our brothers and sisters from Kenya have very nice news they're enjoying.
They're
Have you seen
jubilating.
this?
Yes, and it's from where Molen is thinking that she could be half Kenyan because
Oh,
of that
it's-
news. As of yesterday, the President of the Republic of Kenya came out to address the nation yesterday in Kenya, and he publicly stated that by the powers invested in him as the President of Kenya, he is uplifting the curfew that has been hovering over Kenya's economy, social life.
Since
so as
March
of today,
last
since
year.
March 2020. So as of today, Kenyans are free to do whatever it is that they
And
want.
Kenya,
at
we
whatever
are
time
coming.
That they want.
We are coming.
So,
Because
you
actually,
ready?
on Friday,
Yeah, you're,
Sawa,
you're
tume-
flying over.
na shida.
Yeah, tunakuja.
Aha,
Okay,
We
tupambane.
party till morning. There
Now
is
I
no
know.
curfew.
Eh,
Huh? This is what it
I'll be
means.
going for something different, just so you know.
Felix is
Okay,
soon
you
going
can
to
go
tell
for
you he'll be
something
going for
different.
work.
I am going for party.
Okay, Robert, how do you feel about this news for our neighbors, Kenya? This is a good one. It's definitely one of a kind, and it's one of those restrictions that has been hovering across every country, really, because COVID-19 has hit us all, and we've more or less applied the same restrictions to be able to manage the pandemic. But now that curfew is lifted, what does that mean for Kenya?
Well, in one way, it's going to boost the economy because there's so much that happens at night and it's hindered by curfew. So it will boost the economy in one way or the other. For example, some people have not been working in Kenya, maybe like markets that sell up to late, people that work in some places, transportation issues that are not essential workers, so they can't move in curfew. So it has an economic impact to that. Also for the party animals, there will be some liberty for people to move, and of course it could save life. Because even these days of curfew, the fact is we've lost some people due to curfew. I know of a friend's mother who died because movement was a problem. They were calling this person, the person also feared to move and all that. So in one way or the other, it will save life. But above all, I think for Uganda, benchmarking is good, but you must understand your situation. When you look at vaccination, Kenya is way ahead of us in terms of people that have been vaccinated. So it calls for us to better embrace our methods of safeguarding transmission of COVID-19 from a neighboring country.
Truly, they have embraced the vaccination drive, and these are the benefits that they are enjoying from the vaccination drive. Comparison of their vaccination drive and our vaccination drive, and also given the fact that for them schools have resumed and students are in school, in terms of vaccination drive, what is your call to Ugandans, Felix, so that we can too pride of this day someday?
Well, of course, I think we know what to do. And I know for a fact we're on the right track. As of yesterday or the other day, Uganda received more COVAX vaccinations from the Republic of China. And we know that at least part of that will be helping teachers to be able to assist us help schools, or rather open up the schools. So I guess we are on the right track, and not far from them we'll also be able to open up the economy entirely if we just focus on the vaccination. And far more, we see that people are picking up the pace in terms of vaccination. When you visit some of these vaccination points, I was able to catch a glimpse of what happened in the old taxi park. Quite very many people had turned up. You got City Square, these other schools in the regions, you got City Hall. So I think so far so good. We just have to make sure the vaccines are available, and we keep on doing the drills. People are getting vaccinated. It's a good thing. At least almost my inbox, I would get over 5 people in a day who tell me, I got my jab, I got my jab.
Yeah, or
so
you see them on people's status says posting themselves getting their jab, which is a good thing. So we encourage you to please go and get your jab. The target is 5 million Ugandans by December 31st, 2020, and maybe perhaps we could have 31st as a curfew-less country.
Disturbing now, the ministry is that when they talked about students and those above 18, the students have gone, the teachers have gone, though not that much pleasing of now, because if you look at teachers that have gotten both vaccines, they stand at only 32%, both vaccines. But the disturbing group, which the president emphasized in communities, are the elderly. And it seems these guys have now relaxed. They're only at 10%, where the Ministry of Education says, these people, unless they're also vaccinated, because what will happen, you have the schools. When these children go back home, they'll spread COVID to them, and for them it will affect them and they'll die. So we need now to mention that particular group. People that are old and have comorbidities, please go. You're doing very bad at only 10%.
Okay, all right. Mwalen Kenyana, your message of COVID-19 and the fight against it regarding your partying people.
Yes, I think that this is really everyone's responsibility, and if we are seeing that this could contribute to us getting rid of curfew, it begs a question of why are we not going for the vaccination? It is something that has been going on. The vaccines are there, the centers are open to everyone, because I know that even when they say, okay, we're vaccinating such and such a group, but they still welcome everyone. So if you can, please go for it, and we could be looking at better times. And some time back, the president did talk about how he loves Ugandans who are partying, Ugandans who are happy. So I think he's also looking forward to that. So we just need to take that personal decision and have it there.
After that, he said,
yeah.
So,
but he did say that he loves Uganda. He loves that kind of Uganda when people are happy and, you know, they have their freedom.
All right. For more vaccination drive information within your area code, you can either go to your division quarters or you can go to your city headquarters from whatever city in the country that you are from, or even your district headquarters. They will be able to give you more information regards which group you fall in and where you are supposed to be getting your jab from. Get your jab today so that tomorrow we can be having some of these restrictions reduced, and someday it shall be history. But speaking of history, yes, in the last 24 hours, some incidences have happened locally and internationally, and much as they may be history, they've definitely come with their consequences. But we just want to give you a revision of what those particular stories are, starting off with our local stories.
And we will begin with the NERA and Parliamentary Committee inspecting their offices at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds, where they noted a few things that have to be dealt with to ensure all Ugandans get their national identity cards as when needed. Members of the Defense and Internal Affairs Committee of Parliament expressed concern over the slow service delivery experienced at the National Information Registration Authority, NERA. The committee chairperson, Rosemary Nyonyintono, confirms the commitment towards addressing funding and staffing gaps as enumerated by NERA Executive Director Rosemary Chisembo. This was at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds, where MPs were led on a guided tour of the authorities' offices. No sooner had the members of Parliament arrived at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds than they were taken around the premises. A lot was discovered, including delayed processing of national identity cards. The reasons for such anomalies were soon to be discovered as the guided tour went on. Old technology was one of them. By the time the MPs, who initially appeared charged, settled down for a meeting with NERA officials, their attitude had changed, and this is why, because they received enough sensitization of the problems at the venue. Sounding disappointed, MPs underscored the need to address staffing and funding gaps at NERA. The committee chairperson, Rosemary Nyonyintono, committed to addressing these challenges.
Minister for Local Government Raphael Majesi has urged new cities to accommodate their parent district headquarters within the city boundary. The minister said government is currently planning to shift the district headquarters, which were affected by the creation of new cities, to their new locations. He also warned the district leadership against selling public assets within the cities, and Honorable Raphael Majesi, who was in Lira City to launch the induction of councillors, asked the councillors to tame their expectations in order to effectively deliver services to their voters.
Over to the fight against corruption and mismanagement of government programs, where the State Minister for Economic Monitoring, Honorable Peter Ogwang, vowed to crush all government officials who have mismanaged government funding meant for service delivery for government projects. The minister, who entered the third day of his field operations tour in Busoga sub-region, said that he will not tolerate any person who mismanages the funds. The minister, during his visit at Buwenge General Hospital, was received by residents who reported to him the shoulder work taking place at Buwenge General Hospital, a government-funded project. Having toured the entire project, the minister expressed dissatisfaction in what apparently was shoulder work. The minister threatened to arrest all victims who will be found guilty regarding the construction works at Buwenge Hospital. The minister proceeded to Buwenge, where the Jinja district headquarters are being constructed, but here the minister also was not satisfied with the work so far being done. The minister said he will come up with government valuers to ascertain whether the construction work at this project is worth the amount invested so far. Minister Ogwang further proceeded to Buwenge Seed Secondary School, also a government-funded project in Jinja. For the first time, the minister commended the leaders and contractors for the good work exhibited at this government project.
And finally, on the local stories, yesterday marked 10 years since the former Libyan president was assassinated in Sirte, his hometown in Libya. The former president contributed towards the development of African economies and contracted different infrastructure development. Religiously, he founded the construction of the iconic biggest mosque in Uganda, second biggest in Africa after the King Hassan Mosque in Morocco. The mosque, which was named after him, is something that the Muslim community in Uganda still hold in remembrance of his death.
Now, international stories, we'll be starting off with the COVID story, where we see the World Health Organization comes out to warn that the pandemic will drag on to 2022. Now, the COVID pandemic will go on for a year longer than need to be, because poorer countries are not getting the vaccines they need. Now, the World Health Organization also said through the Dr. Bruce Ayelad, a senior leader at the World Health Organization, said it meant that COVID crisis could easily drag on deep into 2022, and less than 5% of African population have been vaccinated, now compared to the 40% on most other countries. The UK has delivered more than 10 million vaccines to countries in need. It has also pledged a total of 100 million in the same way. He also appealed to wealthy countries to give up their places in the queue for vaccines in order that pharmaceutical companies can prioritize the lowest income countries instead. Now, still about international stories, regional powers back aid for Afghanistan as Russia hosts Taliban. Now, the Afghanistan's new Taliban ruler won backing from 10 regional powers at talks in Moscow for the idea of United Nations donor conference to help the country stave off economic collapse and humanitarian catastrophe. On Wednesday, Russia, China, Pakistan, India, Iran, and formerly Soviet Central Asian states, that is Kazakhstan, and Tajikistan, Pakistan, also Uzbekistan, joined the Taliban in calling for the UN to convene such a conference as soon as possible to help rebuild the country that is torn. Now, they said it should take place with the understanding, of course, that the main burden should be borne by the forces whose military contingents have been present in this country over 20 years. Now back to Africa and looking at East Africa, Kenya lifts long-standing COVID curfew as infections ease. Kenya has lifted a nationwide curfew that has been in place since March 2020 to curb the spread of coronavirus. President Uhuru Kenyatta announced this. An East African nation which has a population of about 54 million has reported at least 252,000 cases of COVID-19 and over 5,000 deaths, but inoculation rates remain low. Now, only 4.6% of the adult population fully vaccinated, according to the latest government figures. Kenyatta said infection rates had fallen with less than 5% of people testing positive. Now, he also announced the decision to lift the dusk to dawn curfew on Wednesday to cheers and applauses at the event to mark, that is a Mashujaa Day, a public holiday to honor those who contributed to the country's independence struggle.
Well, we're talking about COP26 now. This seems to be the summit that is making headlines for this month as we head for November. Well, documents have leaked revealing that nations lobbying to change key climate reports. Now, a huge leak of documents seen by BBC News shows how countries are trying to change a crucial scientific report on how to tackle climate change. Now, the leak reveals Saudi Arabia, Japan and Australia are among countries that are asking the UN to play down the need to move rapidly away from fossil fuels. Now, it also shows some wealthy nations are requesting to questioning paying more to the poorer states to move to greener technologies. Now, this lobbying raises questions for the COP26 climate summit in November. It also shows countries pushing back on the UN recommendations for action just days before they will be asked to make significant commitments to slow down climate change and keep global warming to 1.5 degrees. Now, the leaked documents consist of more than 32,000 submissions made by governments, companies and other interested parties to the team of scientists compiling a UN report designed to bring together the best scientific evidence on how to tackle climate change. Now, these assessment reports are produced every 6 to 7 years by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the UN body tasked with evaluation of science and climate change.
Well, thank you so much, Marlene Kenyana. We're definitely looking forward to hearing more. I saw another report of leakage exposures that are definitely also affecting global climate. But speaking of affecting climate, the weather is affecting the climate. It most likely may affect someone around you in terms of their health, but that could be sorted out in just one drink.
And of course, when we talk about a cold weather, we talk about flu, we talk about cough, and other challenges that most concern the respiratory system. So one of the things that we know for a long time have been doing this is ginger and of course a bit of lemon, then turmeric, and this is what Hallelujah Reflexology products contain and a solution to such challenges. So at such a time, please ensure you have Hallelujah ginger tea drink or Hallelujah turmeric drink, which will greatly boost your immune system to be able to fight those mild coughs and of course flu, plus some other respiratory challenges.
Okay, we do have challenges within the East African region. If there's any community that has been in the limelight the whole of this week, it's been the East African community. Our poll question this morning is actually centered around that.
And that will be, will the IALA or East African Legislative Assembly address creating equal opportunities in cross-border businesses? Will the IALA address creating equal opportunities in the cross-border businesses? And this is our poll question today, so be able to share with us what you think or your opinion about our poll question through our social media platforms and of course on our WhatsApp number, that is 0709 60 25 92.
All right, thank you so much, and we shall be waiting for your engagement into our newsreel. We're definitely going to be circling it around the same conversation, cross-border business. As far as the East African community is concerned, we have fish that is just being it's in trucks. No one is claiming it, and yet it's being said it's of Uganda because it doesn't exist in Congo. It's supposed to be crossing to Kenya, and so the whole East African trade being affected by the regulations and the integration, quote unquote, for that matter. And of course, Robert Kirabo on agenda, he will be here to be hosting seasoned journalist Geoffrey Owana, talking about ethics and professionalism for the field of journalism. And in the world of sport, Ruben Pima Tubirango will be crowning it up, hopefully with a smile, given how Manchester United were able to come back from Atalanta with the three musketeers, giving them the goals that gave them the win. That will be in the world of sports. For now, allow us to take a break. When we return into our 7 o'clock hour, our newsreel will be our discussion.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning to you once again. Thank you so much for joining us here on Good Morning Uganda. Delighted to be in your company. I trust that you're having yourself a warm cup of tea, as my colleagues here are also enjoying themselves a nice warm cup of tea. Alongside me is Kirabo and Felix Nkunda. Before we go any further, we do have, of course, 4 minutes past 7 a.m. this morning into our newsreel. We're going to be discussing the East African regulation, especially into fisheries, but also we're going to be looking at a poll question. But before we go there, we want to send out a special shout out to a young sister, to our very own listener here, Cricket Gagamel from Machindye, who's wishing his baby sister Doreen Alice Nambi a happy birthday. So to you, Doreen Alice Nambi, happy birthday to you from Gagamel Cricket in Machindye, your brother. And also here from Good Morning Uganda, we wish you nothing but the best. Felix Nkunda was stating earlier on that the girl child, surely this is their time to thrive, and I trust that this is their time to thrive. So your birthday greetings to Doreen.
Oh, Doreen, happy birthday. Enjoy life, make an enjoyment. Make an enjoyment. There's that song for Scott Tashit. Yeah, like every day is a different wahala, so make an enjoyment.
Okay, all right. Your birthday greetings.
Well, have the best, live life to the fullest.
Okay, all right. And since this is the chairman of Machindye area called Ruafu, yes, I'm sure he will do something more about it. Anyway, on to a poll question. Just remind you, for those of you that have just joined us into the 7 o'clock hour, we still want to pick your minds and thoughts regarding
a poll question, which is, will the East African Legislative Assembly address creating equal opportunities in cross-border businesses? And for that, we do want you guys to share your sense about the events that have been unfolding most recently, as Priscilla did break them down, but also where do you see East Africa in terms of cross-border businesses?
Okay, speaking of cross-border businesses, government impounded tons of immature fish in the course of this month on 10th of October. But where that comes from is that the Fisheries Directorate, which is also under Uganda People's Defense Forces, was able to actually stop about 4 trucks that had loads of fish, and it's stated by the protection unit that these fish were actually immature fish. It's also stated that upon getting the lease to allow them to open and investigate this particular fish, it was found that this is fish that is within Uganda, not even from Kenya, because apparently these trucks were coming in from Kenya in transit heading to DR Congo, and at Mpondwe border it is where they were in transit, and they were impounded, and they were having over 20 tons of fish, immature fish there. But then again, you're looking at one, breaking the law as far as goods are concerned and within the region. As far as they are in transit, they're not supposed to be touched until they arrive at their final destination. And then you also get to look at the fact that the people who have come out to claim that this is their fish, this is Nile perch among other types of fish that is not, I was going to say grown, that is not harvested no, not fished, harvested. It's stated to have been harvested from Lake Turkana, which is in Kenya. But then, according to the experts, they don't have that kind of fish in Lake Turkana. It is found in Uganda, and most especially that particular one in Lake Choga. So there's also that dilemma that perhaps this is actually fish from within, but they have found loopholes in ways of finding dealings, black market fisheries, which makes sense because we lose over $430 million every single year because of fisheries irregulations. And so we want to start from there and look at the East African community, trade across borders, and in particular this story of impounded fish and how it affects regulation, and also how does it affect border-to-border relations in terms of goods in transit. I'll start with you, Felix.
Yeah, well, when you bring into context a discussion in regards to any form of integration, as even we said last time, remember we had something similar to this topic a couple of days ago, and the same argument will still fold, where you have to discuss the integration first. Now, the integration has a backbone of legal framework, the legal framework, where it has protocols additional to the treaty. Now, it means that every activity carried out amongst the member states must be anchored or must be directly related to the legal regime that was developed and that is passed as to be acceptable to the member states. Case in point, in terms of interstate or cross-border transactions, as the case before us, it is governed by law. There's a law that governs cross-border trade, and it's a total protocol. It talks about how these transactions shall be held. However, there is always a contradiction that may not necessarily be entirely effectual to either of the parties. And the contradiction springs from the fact that there's existence of the integrated part or block or cluster, if you want to call it, but also there's the existence of a sovereign state with what we call lien laws. All right, and in this particular case, if you want to take a legal Jackson to reappreciate what actually happened, you would want to first of all analyze what does the law say in terms of the East African communals. What does the law say in terms of interstate? Now, and the other question that has been quite a controversial is what takes precedent between domestic legal regimes vis-a-vis the blocks legalese. What do we first bring out? That also will bring into question the discussion about the East African Court of Justice, the jurisdiction. How limited is that jurisdiction? Does this matter go to the East African Court of Justice, or does it go to the High Court of Uganda?
That's a very good question.
So there's that contradiction. Is Uganda holding these things basing on the legal regime of the country in this at this particular point, what you want to call the transit lien state, which is Uganda, where the goods were going through, because they weren't meant for, Uganda, but they were going through. But the same scenario. So does this matter go? Is this now a matter of the East African Court of Justice, or actually a matter of the Ugandan courts of judicature? Now, having established that, and if you want my opinion about that question, you find that as long as a matter contravenes an instrument of law of a lien state, that law will take precedent. Because states did not submit their sovereignty to the institution of the East African community. They did not submit their sovereignty. They still stay as Uganda, Kenya, and that's why a country like Rwanda has the audacity to come and say, I have locked my borders. And that's it for them because of their own reasons as a state. So the fact that states within the East African community regain their sovereignty ability to focus issues from the point of their legal regimes, from the point of their national policy, from the point of their national customs and practices, that is a problem. Now, you find that, and that's why these guys in Kenya have been saying, that for us is not illegal. But you're saying that in a place where it is illegal.
But it's true, it's illegal in Uganda, but you see, they're in transit, and therefore it's not applicable, even though it is legal in Uganda.
Let me just throw some light to this issue in a context. One, first and foremost, Uganda is looking at it as cross-border crime. They're saying, yes, these fish, why for us we are holding them? Because we suspect that they are being fished or harvested from Uganda, then smuggled to Kenya, because they know that here the law does not allow that fish. Then they package them in transit.
They repackage them.
They repackage them. If there was enough proof that this fish, even though it is immature, but does not come from Ugandan waters, then Uganda would have no problem. No. In one way or the other. Because when you said the Commission of URA, they say that when the Fisheries Protection Unit stopped these trucks, after I think getting surveillance information, the owners, the drivers, took off. Then they had to go to court, Uganda, seek the legal guidance. With URA, they opened the tracks to find out what is there. On discovering they were young fish. So when the meeting they had between the minister in Entebbe and this business community, owners of the trucks, they said, fine, where is the problem? For us in Kenya, like Felix said, this fish is not illegal. But Uganda insisted, and they were holding those specific species, that is the tilapia and the Nile perch, and saying, okay, for you it is okay. But for us, since there is evidence that this is our fish, and for us in our waters, you do not get fish.
Where's the evidence? Because there are no trackers that can state that particularly this is our fish. But also we do have a hybrid even in fishery where you can now grow particular fish in any other place that is not originally supposed to be their growing place.
For me, that's, you see, I wouldn't doubt that, Priscilla, by far, because these things are research based.
Which part wouldn't you doubt?
The fact that some fish can live here and they can't live in different, that's researched.
Yeah. And
that's why you find that maybe Nile perch can only be in particular places. It's researched. However, what I may want to disagree with what my brother Robert has said is that it would gain safe passage as long as they can prove it from Kenya, as long as it's illegal here. That is not true. Let me give you a scenario. When, for example, do you know why people are arrested with cocaine in different airports? Even if the laws are different. It's because it may be okay for you to have cocaine in the state of Minnesota, but even as long as you're going through a state where it is not acceptable, it ceases. Because as I've told you, and that's the reason I was trying to give that background, that away from the East African Treaty, the existence of that law, the existence of the individual states' laws still strives above and beyond the East African Treaty. And that's, I even gave you an example, that if the countries can still lock a border basing on their lien laws or their domestic laws, it's evident. Now, what it means, if you let something illegal go through like you're letting an illegality go through a process, you're part of your process, that is an abuse to your laws. Because remember, even if it's in transit, it's on your soil. Okay. And on all folds, away from even the things of the fish belong here or belong here, Uganda is battling with putting right these laws in terms of fisheries. You know how much we have lost as a country, by the way. Now,
yet fisheries is an industry that is rapidly growing right now. Every investor is going into fisheries right now.
Since the UPDF became part of,
you know, there is no how things have different lakes. Yes.
Now, we cannot be a part of an illegality. Now, it simply means that we are also motivating the people we are fighting against here. That as long as you do it, from there, you can use this to... have you heard of these things, people who have offshore accounts?
Yes.
How they steal money. Now, you get an illegality and purify it through a legal process, and then you have the money that cannot be tracked. Now, when people use this, they can... If you see Ugandans taking fish first to Kenya and then transporting it through as transit,
because of the application of the different rules of law that could be convenient for
the legal
the trade.
regime of Uganda in terms of trade is clear. Things we are allowed to go through. Why do you think they check all these things? For example, because Uganda's law in terms of firearms may be different, doesn't mean you can have someone take 3 trade, you know.
Back in 2017, the president did order a fisheries protection unit to be deployed upon every major lake or water body or source that we have here in Uganda. And since that took place, fish exports rose from 14,248 tons, and they were now valued at $136 million and that was, of course, an increment of about another 4 tons in addition to the 14, and that gives you about 18 tons of fish. That's an improvement from 2017 to
Trust me, Priscilla, even if you look at the figures, from almost 0 to 100, It's tremendous. Even one time, His Excellency, one of the speeches, I don't remember which particular one, he came out and said, we have potential, and talked about a noni in particular. I don't know what is a noni in English, maybe.
Fish mouth.
Eh?
Where he said that alone has the potential even more than oil, in our country.
That type of fish. Okay, let's talk
it's
about the
part
impact.
of a fish.
Yes,
it's part
of the regulatory.
But, and for us as young people, I remember people used to eat imputa. I don't know any of you who enjoyed that time. We used to have a man in Rubaga called Salongo, and for us, used to, kabedo. But for us, used to eat imputa, we know the things you want out of imputa. I don't know how they call them in English. Children of imputa.
Felix, let's stress that.
Okay, coming to the impact of this very conversation on the East African integration and also community trade, cross-border trade. When you look at the fact that here in Uganda, in reference to our regulations for fisheries, one of the things that was put into regulation was fishermen, registration of fishermen, and then of course registration of the kinds of fish that
the fishing gears.
Fishing gear was also corrected, among other measures that were put in place. What has been the impact of that just within Uganda, and then again, how does that spread to the East African community, cross-border trade and integration?
Like you mentioned rightly, first and foremost, we've got economic benefits, because in terms of monetary returns, we've been able to send more fish in terms of export. If you remember, before the Fisheries Protection Unit, we had about 16 companies that were dealing in fish, but we had remained with only 5 because the rest had collapsed because lack of that is the fish. We've also had improvement in the fish stock in our country, whereby now these breeding centers are protected. We have mature fish, and of course that is another big benefit to that. But when you talk about this regulation, actually on our waters, issues of fishing have been a problem in the East African community. I want to tell you, it was I think last year, where we saw fishermen that were once arrested on Ugandan side being handed over to Democratic Republic of Congo, and what the Congolese have also arrested Ugandans. So we've had these issues on our waters, where first and foremost demarcations, who fishes where protected areas, where some will come into this side of our waters, then fish, then go back with funny practices. So as the East African community in general, one of the things that I look at very critically is for us, yes, Felix talks about each country having independent laws and they take precedent, but I think we need to strengthen better regulatory reforms in this country. Otherwise, we are going to have more trade wars. Let me take you back, Priscilla. When you remember the maize and aflatoxin issue, where Uganda felt maybe we were being kind of sidelined, it didn't carry enough value, yet Kenya insisted. Now they opened up. What tremendous changes have been done to Ugandan maize. You know, when we look at now also this fish, the Ugandans are looking at it, yes, we are protecting our own waters. Our own people can no longer go and fish on their lakes with those funny gears. You see, some have been arrested. Why would we have such fish, immature fish, being in transit or even gotten from Uganda and taken there? The Kenyans are looking at it. I was looking at the people protesting. That is on Saturday at the borders, saying Uganda is not fair holding fish. This is the maximum it can grow. This is witch hunt. So we need to sit down as the East African community and share the vision of the likes of the late Arab Moi, Yoweri Museveni by then, and Al-Hassan Mwinyi, who said no. Let's have a strong community. We use the big population we have for economic benefits, among others. What is happening today? Look at the scramble for jobs at the East African Secretariat, where we took our first Deputy Prime Minister to pen down and say, no, this is unfair. We have to halt this. Look at how Burundi, look at South Sudan, look at Uganda, where they tell that someone scored better, but was sidelined for another person. So we need to rethink, what do we want this East African community to be? How do we have laws that could be cross-cutting? Otherwise, this monetary, whatever reunion, all these may not go through, where you're having states acting the way they want. Are we going to have universal laws to some extent of issues that connect us regularly? We've had issues of Mijingo Island. This is water thing still. We've had, so there are certain things I believe the community must sit and we have uniformity in terms of regulations. that hold to that level.
Okay, which then brings back to our poll question this morning, and I want to hear from this gentleman what your response is in regards to, you know, East African community cross-border trade and how we can actually benefit from it now more than ever.
No, I think every institution has toddler stages. The East African community has insisted to stay a toddler for long. From the year 2000, it's now 20 years into this business, when we have the collapse and the reinstallment, then the collapse, then reinstallment. At least fairly, we've been having something quite legally framed since 2000. But now it's 20 years, and we still want to be toddlers at the issues of integration. I believe and trust that the money we are putting in the community is so much, and we are getting so little. These are huge investments. Countries are putting sacrifices, and we are not getting value for money in terms of the East African community. The dream is big and it's quite realistic, but the actions are very poor. As I said, that like a child can't be crawling for 2 years and you're not concerned. So some of our children are quite smart that they skip in the process of crawling. She crawls for 1 week and the next thing the kid wants to run.
You see them fighting, hitting head
exactly,
to the
because
float.
they feel like they want to stand up. And I think the East African community doesn't have the urge to run. It seems to be comfortable as a crawling baby. It's comfortable as a toddler. And this is the challenge. Now, that must come from the leaders, because the political leaders bear the vision. As Kirabo has given you, the
people that I believe had a similar vision of where they wanted this community to go.
We get tired of crawling, because if you're still arguing about positions, you know, you're bringing on board countries like South Sudan. We're even having discussions to bring on Congo.
Yes.
Now, you want to bring on these countries when you're still fighting for positions at IARA. You're still fighting for and you have these arguments. You're still closing borders. You're comfortable as crawling babies. So not until we are able to get tired of crawling, our knees must be tired as babies at the point of East Africa, and we are able to get above and beyond that. But before we agree to move, we'll never move. So East African community is stuck.
Okay.
You have East African passports, you can't cross borders.
You can't
what
cross
the
borders.
hell is that?
You have your national ID, it is only valid within the region, yet it's supposed to be East Africa.
Let me give my, I went with my
2024, we did have Honorable Rebecca Kadaga wishing that we can have a common currency within the East African region. That is also going to...
She actually even came out and opened no
the biggest
visa,
problem
something
is
to do with South
that
Sudan.
even the pillars we agreed, that is the Monetary Union Political Federation, all of these we are far behind schedule because we set deadlines as to when we must have achieved them.
The treaty even says which should be achieved first. And actually the treaty, if I remember the wording, says, and ultimately, having achieved all these others, we shall achieve the political federation. So, up till today, you've the customs union, the free trade area,
the monetary.
All right, Robert, in your response to cross-border trade within the East African community, possibilities and what can we actually, for example, if we do have the fisheries protection unit in Uganda working for us, how can we help other countries within the region adapt the same for protection of fisheries and also improvement of economies individually?
First, political will. I'll begin with political will. Like I earlier said, the likes of Daniel Arap Moi, the likes of Hassan Mwinyi and President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, these people had the will, had the vision when they believed in this big population. The challenge, I think, some that have come after, of course now it is only Yoweri Museveni who is in leadership, may not share the same vision. We must understand. Then also we must factor in that these have economic impacts, but what extent is each of these partner states willing to sacrifice? Willing to sacrifice for the benefit of the community. That is why you see a state over a minor issue will remain closed, knowing the implication of trade to this, of cross-border trade. That's why a state will choose to sometime pick a minor issue and hold goods of another country, knowing that there is a bigger vision. You see, when you have a bigger vision, these trivial issues, you should not hold on to them. You have the goodwill, you have the spirit, you have the brotherhood to ensure that you prosper and move ahead to that vision, which I find very lacking.
Not the system.
Not the system.
That's what is affecting the community.
We'll go back to the conversation of the Bible. Man, God, man created man.
So,
then
they're lacking sistership.
So to me, that is what I see. I only wish if these leaders could sit and agree on the next step and expedite the process. I see there is lack of spirit and a bit of there's
in
no
my
goodwill.
recommendation, I think the remedy would be, if you have seen a policy working for one country and you're more or less facing a similar challenge, why not adapt it and see how it can actually work for you as another country? If illegal fishing is a challenge in Kenya, we have we can do that whole placement program where our fisheries protection unit can go and train them in how better to curb illegal fishing within Kenya, and that way if there's a positive result, then that would be moved to other countries like Tanzania that have Lake Tanganyika and other countries. That way, I think that's the best way to actually adapt and grow towards this whole East African integration vision, because our success story is very evident. In the 2000s, as far as illegal fishing was concerned, it was terrible, depleted waters of some species that had become what's the word? Instinct?
Yeah.
Yes, extinct. Yes, had become extinct. But as we speak today, those have been rehabilitated, and between 2019 to date, we have had over 20,000 tons of fisheries exported, and that is revenue coming within the country. How much more if it was actually regional revenue? So I think that way, if we adopt a policy that has applied and worked evidently in one region, apply it to another region, we can better have business moving across borders in a happy manner, and everyone will be guaranteed that no, because Kenya has adapted, we are safe that whatever is in transit as far as fisheries is concerned is a safe, mature and good for export. We do continue with Good Morning Uganda. We get to look at your responses later on, but of course we start off by looking at the tabloids this morning. What are they saying? And then traffic. Molen Kenyana is going to be back giving us weather, nature and climate expectations, especially for this rainy morning. Ruben Pima Chividango will be here to be closing up Good Morning Uganda later on. Stay with us.
You know, you could just buy a new smartphone from anywhere in Uganda. Dial *175 *94# to activate their 100% double data bonus offer. Yet, you automatically receive free 1 GB valid for 30 days. You are hooked already, aren't you? Enjoy 100% double data bonus from Airtel. Buy a smartphone from anywhere in Uganda and insert an Airtel SIM card. Dial *175 *94# to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles, valid for 3 months. Dial *175# and select your preferred bundle to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles, valid for 3 months. Airtel, the smartphone network.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Hallelujah Jingati drink and Hallelujah Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body, because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Hallelujah Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Hallelujah from all shops around.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
You may not have the time to fully look into the papers or have a hint of what is there, but what we do here every morning is we bring you some of those catchy stories in the print media every weekday. And of course, when you follow us on our various social media platforms, mostly YouTube, you can rewind, you can forward, and get to know what you could have missed. Thank you for being with us. Let's look at what the papers have this morning. I hold the New Vision, Felix has the Daily Nation and the Daily Monitor. Big headline on the New Vision: government releases another 5.8 trillion, that is shillings 303 billion for payment of accumulated arrears. Then an interesting story here, that is investigation: Uganda charcoal sold in Middle East. Well, what does this mean to deforestation? Kenyana will be giving us more there. Then also the New Vision brings you 250 tenders, that is dealing in World Food Program, Vivor Energy, United Nations High Commission for Refugees, Total, and Ginger Hospital. There for you. Inside also a shortlist of 3,005 teachers. Then all lecturers to be retrained. Okay, that is for one to teach in Uganda. Regardless of the education level, they will be required to enroll for a postgraduate diploma. Okay, that is from the education sector. Still, we look at Senior 2 and Senior 3 works, where there is entrepreneurship studies, computer, physics, English, and mathematics for you this morning. But also presidential assistant charged with abuse of office. This is Resten Nachiguli Nakayenga. That is a special presidential advisor or assistant underprivileged youth that is appearing at the anti-corruption court.
The Daily Monitor: teachers now to train for 4 years. And of course, how we see His Excellency meeting NMG executive to address group's Kisu festival. Now, bail reforms saga goes to High Court and be able to understand the difference between wheel balancing and wheel alignment. Now, trials for clinical trials for injectable ARVs start in Uganda, and also 10 million Ugandans without national IDs. Well, of course, in more news, more government offices block unvaccinated guests, and scientists use pig kidney on humans. Inside the same paper, Uganda exports 400 kilograms of marijuana, and government receives 10 million doses for polio vaccine. Now, from the archives, a photo of the then Minister of Investment, Gabriel Opio, and of course the then Executive Director of Uganda Investment Authority, Margaret Chigozi, with a consultant there from the state of Malaysia. Now, today in history, 2 Sudanese bishops escaped to Uganda, that is in 1965, and Germany conducts massacre in Yugoslavia in 1941.
Back to the New Vision, and we'll begin with the COVID-19 tracker this morning, where new confirmed cases are at 81. We look at positivity rate, that is 0.8%. New deaths stand at 1. Total deaths so far in Uganda recorded is 3,188. Once again, get your vaccination so that you survive death, severe illness, and hospitalization, but also perfect the soaps to avoid the spread of COVID-19 and contracting it. Still looking at symptoms there, you have a fever, you have a cough, shortness of breath, sore throat, and headache. Please seek medical attention. Today in history, it was on this date, that is the 21st of October, but the year 1997, when the Church of England names Janan Lumu a saint. And also on the same date, but the year 2014, Oscar Pistorius gets 5-year sentence. And regarding Pictorial here, they give you police arrest a suspected criminal in the city.
Well, in sports now, we're looking at Crescent Crane Farm and new bleak on the block. There are Bucks EdgeNet, that is basketball, where we see reigning champions, that is Milwaukee Bucks remains the league that whatever storm brew off the floor, they will dominate after that is 127 to 104. Now, Uganda targets podium at African badminton meet, and Ghana stand in cricket Cranes way. Well, of course, also Justice Sekana is new UVP patron, and she Cranes picks lessons from build-up game against men's side, that is in netball.
In the New Vision sport, we see the Kabalega rally launched there. And I promise we'll do well. Still, we look at Arua, where today the New Vision brings you the 9th of the 12 parts regarding sports in the light in Arua, and the decider. Well, that is the world still in sports. But don't forget that Ruben will be here to give you more regarding sports updates, but also those interesting stories in the sports arena.
In the Daily Nation, will Uhuru goodies a time to shift focus from survival to coexisting with disease. President declares there, so we did look at much earlier. Now, sister demand arrest for Ndichu brothers over assault, and Mercury, the silent killer of Migori gold miners. Of course, also more details in what the president did announce yesterday there, and of course to report murderers, key suspects left behind a confession not to say that is police for the. Well, of course, much of that, get yourself copies of the paper and I will be able to understand more and more. Quite a beautiful picture there of Kenyatta and Ruto that we've been missing for quite a time. We hope and believe that that friendship will last after 2022. But of course, also Priscilla on the other side wants to take us through some of the roads that have what Robert and his friend call temporary stagnation. Priscilla, good morning, and where are we going?
Good morning to you, Felix Nkunda. We're definitely on Gaza-Kampala Road. We want to find out the state of traffic and look at some of the red zones so that you can be able to avoid them between now and about an hour from now. It is 20 minutes to 8 a.m. this morning, and so we want to look at Gaza-Kampala Road. There are two roads that actually people use to avoid the traffic that usually builds up in the morning for people that stay within or access this road to enter either Wampel or even get to Kalere or even enter into the heart of the city. One of them that actually enables them to avoid the traffic on the main route is the Chisasi-Chanja route, which comes and connects with the Chanja Ring Road. Now that route is definitely going to bring you and connect you to the areas of Chisota zone, and it's also going to be able to connect you to other areas, but also it can connect you back to Bahai Road, and then you get to connect to the likes of Waligo Road, which Waligo Road is in Komamboga area code. Komamboga area code is another area that actually also is used by people on the Gaza-Kampala Road to be able to avoid the traffic on the main route. And so as of this morning, understandably around the Chebando area code, because of the reconstruction of the drainage system that is happening in the areas of Bwaise and also around Kalere, as far as the integration of the northern bypass is concerned, it's affecting a lot of traffic in Kawempe division. So people that are staying in Chikaya, Chisasi, Sota zone, Chebando are definitely experiencing a lot of traffic jam here this morning, and yet it's the best alternative route that you can have to be able to then come through Mulago, and then through Mulago you can be able to connect to either Bombo Road or connect to other areas that you are going to. So that is how the traffic is looking like in that particular area. Of course, you do expect that given the fact that it has rained, there's a lot of drainage that is going to be affected, especially for people that are coming in from the likes of Mulago. Now, because of the construction that is happening, the Kalere areas are expected to be having some sort of flooding, and also some areas in Chebando, given how the terrain is in Chebando, are also going to be affected by the rains that have come down this morning, and that way you might have another challenge. Also, Binaisa Road is another connection route that you can use off Gaza Road to be then able to come to Yusufude Road and connect to other parts of Kampala, especially for those that are going to the Central Division or those that actually want to access Nakawa. You don't have to go through Bombo Road, do the merry-go-around and be able to access the areas of Nakawa or Bugolobi. You can simply just go through Binaisa Road, and that Binaisa Road is then going to connect connect you to Yusufrude through the Mulago roundabout. And as of this morning, the Mulago roundabout, of course, is experiencing some traffic jam there, expectedly on a rainy morning. Another roundabout, of course, the Binaisa roundabout or Old Mulago roundabout is also having traffic jam. A lot of traffic jam that we are seeing on the Kalere roundabout for traffic that is moving away from the heart of the city, and also traffic that is coming in from the heart of the city. So expectedly, the translation of this one, especially at Kalere, is that when you come to Wandagea, you will also experience a lot of traffic jam there, given how the morning rains have come and affected the traffic around the Uganda National Mosque that marked 10 years of existence yesterday. You get to also see lots of red zones that are coming through from Albert Cook into Bakuli, and then around the old Kampala, then connecting into Namirembe Road. That's definitely going to be giving you pictures of a lot of traffic that is coming in that area. Looking at Hoima Road this morning, it's also giving you stretches of or peak points of traffic, but those peak points are especially where you do have the traffic lights of interaction between Nankulabye, Bukesa, you do have Kagugube area code. All those areas of interaction do have traffic lights that manage the traffic, but the rest of it into Kasubi, indicators of it only at Kasubi Market is where you would be experiencing some sort of jam, but the rest of the route is clear. There's another alternative route for people that actually are trying to avoid the jam on Hoima Road that we are seeing this morning, and that is the Kawala Road that brings you in from Naweru, Nansana, Naweru, and then you connect to Kawala Road, which brings you right into Kasui. So that's an alternative route to avoid the traffic jam there that is coming in from the areas of Mastowa, Rubiji, expectedly, most especially, and so you can avoid the traffic by getting into Naweru, connect to Kawala Road, and you'll be able to avoid that traffic jam. Expectedly elsewhere where you would be seeing some sort of traffic jam is Sentema Road that then connects you to Masanafu, which connects you to the Masanafu roundabout on the Kampala Northern Bypass. Equally also because of the narrow road and then the potholes, and then those potholes right now are being covered by rains and the floods that have come through, meaning that of course the flow of traffic is going to be heavily affected on Sentema Road to anywhere else that they are going. Either you're going to Lusaze, going to Burange, you're going to Lugala, you're heading anywhere in Rubaga division. Also Wakaliga Road into Natete area, we are seeing a sort of traffic jam that is building up, especially from the areas of Busega roundabout into Natete. That's a long stretch of traffic jam, so if you can find a way to avoid that, please do. Masaka Road is equally also having a lot of traffic. The rains are here, but the Nsenenes, I'm not seeing them. So Molen, Kenyana, where do we find the Nsenene?
You would have to hold on with the Nsenene. They are still breeding. Is it breeding or hatching? Because their time is not, but I bet you people in Masaka have already started seeing those. Right. There is something about Masaka. It's like the Nsenene starts from there. I don't know how lucky they are, or whether there is a secret that is geological that we don't know about yet. But those guys are really lucky. Yes.
Okay. All right. As I finish up here, just to look at some responses that have come in through a poll question. Someone responded and said, Uganda should respect other people's business. They should know most of our goods come through Kenya. The minister was not also good in the meeting with the Kenyan counterparts because that meeting did not bear fruit. And Lake Victoria is shared with 3 countries. So is Uganda taking control of East Africa's shared lake? Question mark. Each country should respect another country's trade. That's a response that we have gotten from there. Also on our hashtag on Twitter, we definitely have some reactions that are coming through there, and we want to find out what those reactions are in regards to a poll question this morning. But engage Gimbal in Kenyana. When it comes to cross-border trade, what is your take in this regard?
I think in the spirit of togetherness, that is what the East African community is building towards. And in the first place, this is why this kind of body is being created. It's something that we need to look at. Have these opportunities. Now, if you find like what we were dealing with some time back this year of Rwanda closing its border, and you are the same nations that are trying to foster that togetherness across the region, I think it's unacceptable. We need to harmonize businesses cross-border. And also, I think we also had issues sometime back with Kenya about our maize. Yes, there is quality production that should be dealt with in terms of quality. But at the same time, shouldn't we really make sure that we are all benefiting as East Africa? That's my big question.
Yeah, that's a very good question. On Twitter, Vince Kakoza, #UBCGMU, for as long as an issue contravenes with the laws of that country might have a right to make the precedent. Countries in the East African community joined, but they did not submit their sovereignty. That's why some members like Rwanda can close their borders. And that is a comment from Vince Kakoza. Thank you so much for being with us on Good Morning Uganda. Mwalen Kenyana does continue with weather, nature and climate.
Yes, thank you, Priscilla, and very good morning to you once again. And we did wake up with rains here, but still talking about cross-border, we want to go beyond Africa. And this morning we woke up to very devastating news. To me, it is something that made me be like, what? So China apparently has ordered the coal mines to increase production. Now, one thing that we have been fighting against and what scientists have advised against is the production of coal, which is among the fossil fuels. So what is happening in China is now the government is saying, please double production of coal because there is going to be, winter is coming. So they are disguising the whole coal production in a state of it being winter coming, so we need to double production. And they have had issues with power cuts in the recent days, but also that has been related to the fact that they have failed to move 100% renewable energy. Because a country like China, this is a country that has a lot of growth in terms of their economy. So meaning that they are able and well capable of putting up solar plants, boosting their wind energy. Now, why would they still depend on the production of coal to have their energy supply? This is something that is boggling my mind, and I know a lot of climate scientists are already talking about this. It is quite contradictory. Well, earlier this month, we did see actually Beijing move towards cutting production of coal, and China has been also moving towards that in its ambitious targets to look at the fact that we could be cutting carbon production across the area. But also at the same time, one thing that I have noticed with China is they're not consistent. So they did talk about cutting carbon emissions, and that is what they have been doing. But soon as they got any power problems, the first thing they rushed to was making sure that now they are doubling their production of coal, which is something I find very disturbing in these times. Well, at the same time, we look at the fact that scientists have come up to talk about health-related issues that are headed our way. Now, this report was made yesterday by the Lancet Laboratories, one of the biggest laboratories in terms of medicine. Now, they have given out a report that is giving a prognosis of a code red in terms of health by 2030. Now, what they are basing on is the fact that such fumes that are coming from what we are talking about, China giving out more coal production, that means we are increasing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. We're increasing more dangerous gases in the atmosphere that are in turn being a threat to our health. Now, what Lancet Laboratories is advising is that with the code red, because they have analyzed over 20 reports that are talking about climate change scenarios. Now, there is likelihood that we're going to be seeing more drought cases. There's likelihood that we're going to have more pathogens, and that includes malaria, that includes cholera. These are diseases that we have been battling with. Now, imagine that doubling by 2030 just because we are ignoring the topic of climate change. We are failing to take action. And what amazes me is that the huge countries that are actually polluting and contributing to this crisis now take decisions like this. And also, it's interesting enough that this morning I was reading a story of the Russian president, Putin. He has failed to actually make it to COP26, that is the climate summit in Glasgow, just a few weeks away. He's making a decision to not attend. Well, we have the likes of Biden is going to be there. Most presidents are actually going to be there who are party to this conference. Russia is among the countries that are polluting most. Now, if for us as developing countries, we are more vulnerable and we are not contributing to this crisis, but also the fact that we also have those human activities that still contribute is a concern. Now, Russia still says that they do have representation, they will be part of the negotiations, but this is a huge decision coming from the president of the nation saying, I will not attend. It's like they're ignoring this. But anyway, when we talk about all these decisions being made, we also look at the extreme events that are happening because of this relaxation. And one of them recently, we are looking at the floods. We have had floods in Nepal, we have had floods in India, where we have seen over 2 dozens of people dying. And this morning, the reports coming in are showing that over 150 people have died from the floods in Nepal and in Kerala. Looking at the fact that we've had prolonged rainy conditions over that area, I can see from the pictures some of the cars that have been submerged into the flood waters, and also we did have mostly across India where we also saw landslides over the area coming in from the heavy rains. And this season is most especially very harsh. The fact that we do have the monsoon winds that do affect India. At the same time, they also affect the East African region because those winds are all hailing from Indian Ocean and the coastal region also within the country. But more of what we've looked at, the rains that are concerning across the western part of Uganda, Southwestern. There is already an alert for heavy rainfall, and we already have those rains across that area, but it is still concerning. Now, India is being worst hit by this monsoon effect, and we did cover a story also looking at the landslide over that area. These are some of the extreme events that are coming in as we look at variations in climate. So to see that people are ignoring this or are failing to really go ambitious on the targets that have been set by the Conference of Parties is something that is slowing us down. But we need to be positive. There is still a window and we can change this. Look at more ambitious ways on how we can actually go about climate change. But well, coming back home here, we have woken up to mostly rainy conditions here in Kampala. It wasn't just Kampala. Most of the areas around Lake Victoria did have to start with that rainy system. It is still there, and most areas are already having those rains. And it's also affecting the traffic, like Priscilla put it. Most areas we're seeing covered by traffic is because of the rain. Now, there is a relation between traffic and rain. It looks like whenever it rains, there is a same instinct that kicks in for most people to just drive at the same time, and that creates traffic. But yes, that system is still there, and we're looking at mostly areas across Kampala, Entebbe. We do have Wakiso also around that, and that is headed towards Masaka, already having those rains for that area. But we do expect that to continue throughout the entire morning. We also have parts of midwestern Uganda, that is across Masindi, across Ntoroko. That area did start off with rains, and more of that was actually across parts of central. Now, that area is likely to also continue with these rainy conditions as the morning progresses. That is across mostly also towards the Rwenzori region, that is across Kasese. That area can also expect to have those rains as the morning progresses. Now, that system continues, especially towards the western part of Lake Victoria. Now, that means that also Mbarara, that's part of southwestern Uganda, you could be looking at rains this morning because that system is headed your way. It did start off as a small system, but it keeps building up, and we are looking at scattered rains. Now, with scattered rains, it is a system that doesn't clear completely. It will just keep raining slowly by slowly, but still we might be looking at a clearing trend, that is as we head into the afternoon. But for now, it is still going to feel cold. It is still going to feel a little bit drizzly around most areas here. Now, that is also headed for the eastern part of central. That means rains, the likes of Nakasongola, this area, Mubende, Mukono, also having that rainy system that could be interrupting much of your morning. But while we're dealing with that, a lot of people in northern Uganda are having clear skies. A very sunny morning across Gulu, that also takes in Kitgum, Padel, the Karamoja region, also sunny. We're looking at Soroti, also mostly across the eastern part of the country. Mbale, that is also looking at a very sunny morning over there, but we're also looking at Southwestern, Kabale, Kisoro. For now, we do have those sunny intervals, but you do have rains on your way. We'll go ahead and take a look at our forecast for this morning across different areas, starting off with eastern Uganda, where we do have Soroti, Katakwi, Moria, and Kumi. We are forecasting a sunny morning, but we will have intervals of cloudy conditions over there, and starting off with a warm morning that will be at 27 degrees centigrade. We also look at the eastern part of Lake Victoria. That is where we have eastern part of Central, where we have Ruwero, Woblenzi, Buludi, we have Nakaseke. We also have Ruri in that category. We are forecasting isolated rains, and those who will be coming in at a pleasant 26 degrees centigrade. Well, we look at southwestern Uganda, where we have Mbarara, Ibanda, Bushenyi, Rubirizi. We are forecasting also isolated showers. Those will be starting off at a cool 25 degrees centigrade. That system is likely to continue into the afternoon. Please do look out for those wet conditions. Now we also look at the central Lake Victoria Basin. That is where we have Kampala, Entebbe, Wakiso, Mukono. Buyukwe is in that category as well. We're looking at very isolated rains. Those did start off earlier, but they are continuing. Also, temperatures are quite cool at 24 degrees centigrade. We will be looking at a warmer day later within the evening. Well, we also want to look at what is coming in this morning, that is regarding our warming stripes. Now, there has been a new report that is coming in looking at still COP26 and what our targets have been so far. Now, what is interesting is that COP26 is making ambitious targets and looking at the choices that we are going to make just in a few weeks, where nations will be converging to make these choices. What target does that put us at? Now, what you're seeing here within the red line is what we could be looking at should we make choices to actually keep the global warming trend at 1.5 degrees. Now, this is when we did have at least less carbon emissions, but what we are targeting is the net zero by 2050, that is at 1.5 degrees centigrade. But we're looking at, if this doesn't happen, then we could be looking at more trends within the black, from red towards the black. That means we are looking at more devastating effects, we're looking at more extreme weather events, and what could be worse. But also one interesting picture for me was how we're looking at born into the climate crisis. Who are the people expected to suffer most from this crisis? The children, the future. So it's upon us to actually make sure that this future is bright, is good and healthy. Well, I'll leave you at that for weather and nature, but we do have Good Morning Uganda agenda coming up. Robert will be here to take you through that, and then later we'll have sports with Ruben. But remember, you can catch us on our social media platforms. On Twitter, you can go at UBC TV Uganda. We're also streaming live, that is UBC Television Uganda on YouTube. My name is Molin Kenyana. I want to wish you a good morning.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go. MTN.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink.